guys, welcome back to Campus Hustle, the podcast where student media professionals talk about how they balance it all. Today, I have a very special guest, Miss Nadia Jones.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
I'm so excited you asked me.
Oh, well, yeah, obviously.
Which media professional creative doesn't like talking about themselves?
That's so true. That's definitely, I feel like, the one thing that everybody kind of has in common.
Yeah. Promote our work.
Yeah.
What we do.
Absolutely. And speaking about what we do, Nadia here has a very successful up-and-coming photography creative direction company called NXJ Studios.
Yes.
And would you like to start us off by just talking a little bit about NXJ?
Yeah, so I guess I should kind of start with the funny start of how NXJ Studios came to life, because it's not really, I guess, your normal start. I came to Point Park kind of on a whim. I wasn't really supposed to be here, but I ended up getting a full ride from a bunch of scholarships and then ended up committing here.
That's awesome.
And I was originally going to be law, and then I said, LOL. I think that was just like I'm going to be like Elle Woods type of moment. I wasn't actually thinking about how much work, and I was like, Nadia, you don't like reading or writing, so how's that going to happen? So then I switched to business management, and I was like, okay, but like I need a little more oomph.
Okay.
And I really liked my marketing classes. So then all of a sudden, it's like kind of the end of Christmas break. So it's like that December, January period. And me and my roommate, also someone who will be on Campus Hustle, is Alexandra Ray.
Stay tuned.
Yes. And she and I like did a photo shoot in our tiny little freshman dorm Lawrence Hall bathroom. And I just kind of creative directed and had fun. Like we were just kind of feeling the vibe. And I was like, wait, I kind of love like this whole creative feeling and just letting things flow and capturing all my beautiful friends or even beautiful strangers. So then I was like, well, can I actually make this like a job, like as a creative director, I know photography is obviously a job, but I didn't want to be that struggling, I'm only a photographer type of person.
Yeah,
absolutely. I more so wanted it to be a quality of mine and a trait of mine that I could profit off of, but I could do other things. So then I ended up talking to some advisors at Point Park, and I switched to SAEM. And that kind of changed the whole trajectory of everything. I started influencing and content creating, which is why I also have a nickname NXJ, and that's where NXJ Studios comes from. So it's like if people know me from there, they'll now know me from the studios, because I technically just run all of it. And then I just kind of officially, I think it was January 2022. It was like the first day of January, and I said I'm going to launch NXJ Studios. And I just kind of started putting miscellaneous work out there.
Yeah.
Now it's a lot more cleaned up, and like I have a real logo, and there's actual like substance to it. And I've worked with Sam multiple times, so it's something that has just kind of happened over the past 2 years, 3 years of school, and now I'm in my junior year, and it's kind of more coming together. We are slowly working on the trademark, but that might not be for a minute. They're expensive.
I mean, being in your like junior year of undergrad, having even like the bare bones basics of a company, of a business is like incredibly impressive. Most people don't bother acting on their ideas until like way later on.
Yeah.
So,
and like for some people, I know like I'm not a multimedia major, and sometimes I feel like I should be, because I feel like that is more in my league. But at the same time, the reason why I chose business was because if I'm going to be a creative, I need to know how to run everything like a business, because it's not just my work's a business. I am the business. Yeah. So I need to know how to do taxes, because that freaks me out. I don't know what that is.
It's scary. It's so scary.
Yeah.
I do freelance writing, and this past tax year was the first time that I actually made what I would call real money from my writing.
Definitely.
And so so basically, I guess the way that it works for me is you have to put aside anything that isn't taxed that comes in. You have to put aside 30% of it for your taxes. And I didn't really realize how much that adds up to me after you have like so many different jobs with like different incomes. And my savings account went from like $5,000 to like less than $2,000 after taxes.
Yeah, it's
It's terrifying.
Fun. Yeah, so that's
genuinely.
That's why I went down more the business path, because I'm like, no matter what I do, business is going to be the first of everything, because money rules the world, sadly, and that's just kind of like, I'd rather just not get effed over.
Yeah.
Effed over.
For lack of a better term.
Yes, by anyone or just anything. And I want to make sure I'm going into everything with a smart, business mindset. And then the creative stuff I just kind of teach myself, because I feel like that's not something you can necessarily go to school for. Like, you either have the talent and the creativity or you kind of don't, which I know is harsh, but
it's true. I mean, you can learn like technique or stuff like that, but these days,
like how to use Photoshop. But I mean, half
you can
that
learn
stuff
that online.
You could pull it up on YouTube, 15-minute tutorials. So it's like that stuff I'd rather not necessarily waste my money on. So I was about to say waste my money on, but I am on a full ride, so I'm not wasting any money. But if I were to, I wouldn't want to waste my money on
time is money. So technically,
no, for real, because time is moving very quickly, and it's kind of terrifying, but it's okay. And so that's why I more so went into SEM, because I get a lot of people ask me like, "Oh, are you a photography major?" And I'm like, "Nope."
You don't have to be.
I bet you wouldn't guess what major I am. And then I minor in Prad, so that's kind of like my little multimedia scoop in.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, sorry, being very violent on this set. Just like hitting my mic.
The microphone.
But yeah, so I hope that answered your question. I know that was a little like mumble jumble.
No, that definitely answered my question. And it's like honestly been really cool to like be your friend and like follow your journey.
Sam has really been like a part of all of this.
I think we've known each other for like almost a year now. I want to say we met maybe like last May.
Definitely, because in like that May-June time we did our shoot in the garage.
Yeah, and that was so fun. And it's still my profile photo on Instagram.
Oh my gosh, which is like the biggest compliment for I feel like anyone who's a creative. It's like, yes.
Yeah, no.
That means they really like it.
You are like so incredible to work with, and it's kind of refreshing. There are a lot of like very talented Pittsburgh creatives, and you know, it's great to work with like all the different photographers, you know, that are around, but not a lot of them are women, and it can be a little bit uncomfortable to work with someone who's, you know, just as like a younger lady working with like a 40, 50-year-old man.
To go with a random man to a random location and take photos. Yeah.
You know, it could be a little intimidating. So it's cool, you know,
especially when you see their, you know, something I've learned out here is like their follower count. Yeah. Because if certain people have a number that's a pretty high number, they think they can get away with everything. Mm-hmm. So,
but that's not true. Not in these closed circles.
Yeah, not if you put me in there, because I'm like, y'all don't know me. I'm chaotic and crazy. Like, nope. And I'm always just like, I hate saying the term, I'm a girl's girl, because I feel like that gets so taken out of like, it's like the same thing of like girl boss, where it's like, please stop talking. Mm-hmm. But I truly am like, I wouldn't be where I am without the women in my life. I've been raised majority by women. So I'm always like, with the girls, I always protect the girls first over some dude.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. So yeah, like meeting you was awesome, and knowing you is great. And like I said earlier, I'm very happy to have you on.
Yes, I'm so excited to be here.
So I guess my next question, also going along the lines of you building NXJ, what are some of the, I guess, most significant challenges or kind of roadblocks that you've experienced so far in your journey?
Yeah, so this is a bit of a, let me say like what I'm going to go down with, and you'll tell me if I can do this.
Okay.
So I feel like each year of growing this, because I'm going on to my 3rd year of growing this, there's been a different challenge each year.
Yeah?
So like my first year was more so just like, can I even make this happen? Like it was, you know, confidence was an issue, because I come from a very small hometown where everyone's kind of watching, you know, they're kind of lurking, but they're not supporting. So I felt the pressure of people from back home, and then also, you know, my family, who they're not coming from a place of unsupportiveness, but they're just like, we want to make sure you're doing something where you'll, I don't know, be able to put a roof over your head.
Yeah, and support yourself.
So it was just more so of like the fear of being a freshman in college, going down a route that is not necessarily traditional, and is everything's on a whim. So you're just kind of hoping for the best, and you have to make yourself known in the industry by being like, look at me,
and talking to everyone and meeting everyone.
Yes, like the amount of networking and talking I do every day, from when I was like 8 years old and the shyest person in the room, I feel like people wouldn't recognize me because all I do is talk. I don't stop talking. So but yeah, so I feel like my first year was lack of confidence. Then my second year, I put too much on my schedule. I had no idea how to manage my time. I didn't take care of my health at all. I had like a complete awful burnout, like destructive episode for the like 8 months of school. And I was actually coming out of it when we did that shoot. That shoot kind of in a way, like, I hate to say it saved my life, but it did make me see NXJ Studios in a different way, because I was like, I do have the talent, but I need to take care of myself in order to do that.
That's really cool to hear.
Because that month we did it, I was starting to like we were out of school. I was starting to take care of myself. And I was like, so I do have this, but like, we need to go and make a more stable foundation.
Yeah.
And then now I have the confidence. I'm working on a stable foundation. I definitely still put too much on my plate, but not to the point where I'm like, LOL, can't get out of bed type of thing. Like, it's more so of just like, I have to.
This, next thing.
Yeah.
Bus,
It's
another
more,
club, another club.
yes, it's more so I just have to make sure I keep taking my anxiety medication so I don't like, you know, go off the rails. But, you know, now it's more exciting.
Yeah, that's good.
So I feel like now it's more so just making sure, like, I'm happy. I'm making sure I'm making smart choices. So it's kind of like I learned from my awful mistakes in the first 2 years of, like, lacking in confidence and awful time management to now where I'm like, okay, well, we're not doing that again. And I feel like when you are creative, there's all these pressures of, like, well, I pretty much have to work every day 24/7 because this isn't a job where it's like, oh, I'm going to be a nurse. This is my schedule. There is no schedule. You technically make the schedule. So you feel guilty when you're not working. So I feel like that's something I still kind of struggle with now is feeling like I don't work enough. But I surround myself by people kind of like you where you guys see the work I do. You guys see the constant grinding I'm doing. I'm hustling. So I think kind of surrounding yourself with people who recognize that, it helps you, like, get out of your head.
No, absolutely. It is, like, it's so important to have a good, you know, just, like, support system.
Yeah.
You know, people who not only care about the work that you do, but also care about you as a person.
Yes.
Because I feel like
Definitely.
you'll definitely run into people who are kind of one.
I think my biggest thing for, you know, anyone who's specifically more so photographer, I love that people love getting their pictures done, but the one thing I've realized that is just I can't stand it anymore is when people are like, oh, well, we're having a party, we want you to come, but can you bring your camera? Girl, no, I'm off the clock.
Yeah, like, are you paying me?
Like, girl, I'm not doing that. First of all, all my camera equipment is probably over $1,000, so I'm not bringing that to a party.
Yeah.
Like, so it's just things like that where it's like, I'm your friend before I'm the photographer friend.
Yeah.
So I feel like, and that's just another thing that if you're creative, if you're doing something that people want, whether it's drawing, pictures, whatever, like, you have to be able to be like, hey, I'm a human first. I don't want to do that. I really would like to enjoy these couple hours off before I have to go work again.
No, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I guess kind of leading into that is my next question, which is, you know, you aren't from Pittsburgh. You know, you moved here. You built everything pretty much, like, from the ground up. You know, who are some people, you know, that you've met that kind of have helped you and, like, inspired you and, you know, kind of, you know, just, like, gave you the courage to kind of build this up? Is there anyone in particular?
I mean, there's a couple. I mean, you're one of them, honestly, because you're technically one of the first models I ever worked with outside of my friend group. Like, you were the first person where I was like, all right, I guess I'm really doing this. Jeez, okay. Like, you know, because I've worked with Alex, but I'm like, Alex is my roommate and best friend.
Yeah.
And, like, I worked with my other roommates, but it's like, okay, like, you guys are in my super inner circle. I live with you. So to step out and be like, hey, I'm going to work with you and you're pretty much a stranger, which means I'm really in this now. Like, I'm actually taking this serious. So, I mean, you're one of them, but also Jack and Georgia, who are my supervisors for my current internship with Elation. It's a media agency in LA. I mean.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they are my supervisors, but it's more so of like we're building a relationship and I just see them helping me as much as I help them with their brand. And,
that's awesome.
You know, so I see it more as like a family thing. I'm also someone where I don't come from a super big family. So whoever I kind of meet on this journey, I'm like, well, you're a family now. You're getting adopted. Sorry. I would say Alex, my best friend, I feel like she's the one who's in the loop about quite literally everything I do. So if anyone knows me the best, it's her. Yeah, I feel like I'm like, sorry if I'm missing anyone. There's a lot of people I've met in this lifetime.
No, it's impossible to name every single person.
I would even say like so many of the SEM professors, like I call Paige Beal my fairy godmother because she like.
I had a class with her once.
I love her so much.
Yeah, I had my oral comm freshman year virtual
I'm screaming.
class with her, and it was honors oral comm, and I'm not in the honors program, so I was like real nervous. I don't know why they put me in there because they hate me, I guess, but I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed working with her, so that's cool.
Well, she also she kind of is another pivotal person where my first marketing class was with her, and that's when I was a business management, and I got my first internship as a baby freshman. I was in this class with all these juniors and seniors. Don't know why. It was a marketing 205 class. And, you know, we got finished working on all our projects. It was the end of the year. And she was like, well, if you would want, like, kind of like a practice internship, like, raise your hand or, like, email me. I was the only person in the class who emailed her, a freshman in my first semester. And I said, I want this. I have no experience, but I'm going to take it. And I got it.
As you should. I think that that's like another thing is like, I feel like a really great way to, you know, get into things that maybe you like are nervous about or whatever is to just say yes to any opportunity that comes your way. And if you hate it, you know, you hate it, but at least you tried.
Yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of things I've said yes to where I'm like, okay, like it didn't work out how I imagined it, but I'm glad I did it because one, it still put something on that resume.
Yeah.
And it taught me the things that I may not want to do or I like to do. It just teaches you things in general. And we're all like, if you're in your 20s, that is a time to learn, make mistakes, like just go for it. Like quite literally, what do you have to lose? No, I know for me, when I came out here, I was like, I have nothing to lose. Like this is a clean slate. Like we're about to, you know.
No, that's awesome.
Do it.
Yeah, I definitely relate to that a little bit because like where I'm from, like it's also a very small town. Yeah. It's called Bentleyville. It's in Washington, PA. Like very much farmland.
Yeah. Whatever. I guess I should say when I say small town, technically a small city. I'm from a small city. I'm from Wilkes-Barre. If you know where Scranton is, if you watch The Office, I'm about 15 minutes out from Scranton.
I've seen The Office.
Yeah. So like it is a small city because I have been to small towns and we don't have farms. It is very much like we have apartments and skyscrapers or whatever the heck. It's just very small compared to Pittsburgh. Like
Pittsburgh's definitely on the bigger side.
Yeah.
Whenever you I feel like whenever you like meet people who aren't from Pennsylvania, the only two places in Pennsylvania that people know are Philly and Pittsburgh.
Yes.
And they're like every other place, who cares? You know?
Literally.
Which fair enough.
Which totally, like, I fully get that. Or some people will be like, oh, like, I've, like, drove through Allentown because that's, like, you know, the rest stop location, like, at least where I'm from, to go to other places. But, yeah, usually when I say Wilkes-Barre out here, people are like, huh? And I'm like, you know where Scranton is? You know where the Poconos are? Because people love to go vacation at the Poconos.
Yeah, that's like a common honeymoon spot.
Yeah, so I'm like, I'm only, like, a couple minutes out from the Poconos, y'all. I'm somewhere around there. Just a very, very tiny city.
You, like, very much jumped in your freshman year into doing all of these things. As you were saying, you know, I guess another question I have for you is, did you ever experience any kind of, like, imposter syndrome, being so young in a creative space with a lot of, at least from my experience, a lot of, like, 35-year-olds, like, a lot of older folk who have been doing this for a very long time, and you're, like, climbing up the rungs of the ladder, like, very quickly and very young.
Yeah, I feel like, honestly, that's something, not necessarily I suffer with the imposter syndrome anymore. I mean, that's actually a bold statement. Yes, I do. But it doesn't mainly come from me. I feel like it's more so, I feel like a lot of people, you know, kind of perceive me in a way where they're like, she's in over her head. But the thing is, I do have this brand that's all about being confident and just being out there and just taking the risk. Like, that's what I want people to do, because I feel like society has kind of built, specifically the younger generation, to be so like, well, that's not going to make you any money. Like, I remember originally, like, I wanted to be an actress because I was a theater kid. Okay.
I wanted to be an actress too.
I was a theater kid and I was a dancer and all that stuff. So, you know, I loved being on stage and I was like, I want to be an actress. And, you know, everyone was kind of like, sure. Go for that. You're not going to make any money. It's not going to happen. It's like happens. So I just hate that mentality. And I know it comes from a place of trying to, like, protect your kids and stuff, but at the same time, we live in such a different time now where you could blow up on TikTok and then be in, like, the next featured film.
Oh yeah, literally, it's insane. It's literally insane.
I'm like, if Addison Rae can do it, I can do it. Like, I don't care.
Real.
Like,
no hate.
No, like, she's literally popping off right now. She's, like, performing with Charlie XCX. I'm like, girl, can you get me up in there? I can't sing, but, like,
To Die For is kind of a hit. Like, I kind of like that's it.
Like, I'm like, okay, that's going on the iconic playlist. But I feel like, you know, I'm kind of putting myself in these situations where I am working with a lot of, like, I do work with people on campus and stuff, but a lot of my brand is more so, like, off campus. Like, you know, I'm very involved with Point Park, but at the same time, I'm not, because I'm so outside of this. I do so much work in Southside and North Shore. So, you know, I'm meeting with these people who are, like, 26, 28, 30, and I'm like, hey, I'm 20, can't even, like, legally drink. Hey, what's up? Like, let me in.
Let me in.
Let me in. And they're like, you're a fetus. And I'm like, yes, I am, but I have experience that you probably wouldn't even think when you look at me unless you ask me to show you my resume. And I'm like, here you go. So I kind of have enjoyment in playing the underdog.
Yeah.
Because I've realized that has kind of just become my position. Like, I didn't ask for it. It's just people kind of downplay me and see me as, like, the dumb 20-year-old college student who's kind of in over her head.
And I mean, in a way, like, even though I'm sure that sometimes it could be a little bit irritating or annoying,
yeah,
it is kind of an advantage.
It is, because you have no idea what I'm planning.
Yeah, that.
No one ever knows what I'm planning, and I love it so much. I love being sneaky. So, like, for me, it is kind of agitating in a way, but at the same time, I feel like if people know too much about me, I feel like that kind of, like, I don't want people to know too much about me and what I'm doing. Maybe that's, like, a paranoia thing, because I'm like, don't kill my vibe, but, like, but I don't know. I just feel like with creatives, there should always be a little bit of secrecy. Like, you're not going to know what's coming next, because,
yeah, absolutely.
You know, we're in a field where it's, like, the world is your oyster. Like, you could do whatever you please, especially if you have, like, a degree in, like, multimedia or business or whatever. You can do whatever.
Yeah.
You could go get certifications on freaking LinkedIn for, like, if you want. Like,
yeah.
You know?
And, like, I love the way that a lot of skills kind of translate into the next thing that you do. Mm-hmm. Like, for instance, like, whenever I started here, I was, like, a journalism major, a broadcast major. And so I had a lot of news writing skills or whatever. Mm-hmm. And now I hate news, and I don't care about news, whatever. Yeah. But my, like, article writing skills translate into what I do now, which is copywriting and, like, content writing for websites.
Yeah. And I mean, even the news, like, you're conducting interviews right now.
Yeah, exactly.
So you know how to talk on camera. And, you know, so it's stuff like that where, I don't know, I feel like in this field, it's just, like, you could quite literally learn from anything, even if it's simple as watching YouTube videos, because it is just a very hands-on field that it takes a lot of hands-on work and visual learning. Like, it's not something where you're sitting down and reading a book on how to do something. If someone told me to sit down and read a book on how to take photos, I would freak out.
Yeah, no, because what's the point? You know? There are some things you just have to go out and do.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's kind of why I think I went through those transitional phases over the past 3 years, because it was just pretty much I had to go out there and do the work. And am I uncomfortable a lot of the time? Yeah, because sometimes I don't know what I'm doing. But then now I'm so comfortable in those situations because I went out and did it 2 years ago. Now I'm like, I feel like I'm a pro, but I try not to say I'm a pro because people are like, but you're 20 years old in college. And I'm like,
yes, and
I'm not a normal college student. I'm not trying to be that person, but, like, you know, I feel like the whole amazing point of what you're doing is showing that, you know, yes, we are college students, but we're so much more than that because we're already building our personal brands 100%. While in school. Mm-hmm. Like, so yes, I'm still making dean's lists and doing all that and studying, but I'm also, like, figuring out contracts and signing NDAs and figuring out trademarks and social media marketing and all this stuff that I'm not learning in school. I'm quite literally doing myself.
Yeah. And I think that once you get to a certain point, it almost, as much as I love school, like, I've always been, like, kind of like an academic bookworm type of person, whatever. But I'm at the point now, granted it is my final semester of my senior year, but I'm, like, ready to be done. Yeah. You know, going to classes in my, like, list of priorities is, like, the lowest rung of priorities, because it's like, if I have, like, a job opportunity or an opportunity to, like, write or even, like, shoot with someone or do any kind of, like, fun thing that I feel like is tangible and, like, really impacts my life and my career and my goals, I'm gonna pick that over school.
100%.
So, like, now it's like I'm kind of at the point where
I do that too, and I tell, like, all my, you know, on campus, like, bosses and advisors, I'm like, I do forget I'm a student at times, because I love Point Park. It has done quite literally so much for me. This is, like, honestly my saving grace. And I know a lot of people have, you know, whatever mixed opinions, but for me, the school has saved me. It has completely saved my confidence and everything. And I feel like it's just about what you do with it.
100%. Because I see people all the time who are like, in this day and age, you don't need school. You don't need to go to school. You don't need to get a degree. And while I half agree with that, I, like, half agree, okay, yeah, no, you don't need to have a degree to succeed in, like, a media field or a media career. I feel like the connections that you make and the doors that it opens, if you choose to walk through them, are, like, invaluable.
Because especially here, connections out the wazoo. Like, Point Park just throws things at you, and it's up to you if you want to take them. If you don't want to take them, I will.
Yeah, it's tight-knit, too, which is awesome.
So I'm like, I will, because, I mean, it has gotten me all my internships, my fellowship. It's gotten me the opportunity to now start this podcast with a friend of mine named Kate, who quite literally 2 months ago came to speak at a class of mine, and now I have an international podcast with her because she lives in London. It's things like that where if you take it, 2 months, you don't know what that could lead to.
Yeah.
Like, I'm hoping to go out there and crash with her, like, and visit London for 2 weeks and possibly meet with someone from the top magazine I want to work for, Days Magazine out there. Like,
that's so cool.
So I'm like, y'all, like, the opportunities are there, but you need to put yourself out there in a way where it's like, so why should I listen to you? Why should I?
Yeah.
You know, it really is. I think that's the hardest thing about being in this field. It's like, you have to believe it to make other people believe it.
No, 100%. Yeah.
You know, you can't just be like, yeah. And then they're like, well, like, do you have anything to show me? And like, you have no confidence in it. And that's something I've had to learn. And it's something you have to build up if you're not a naturally confident person.
Yeah. So you kind of agree with the fake it till you make it kind of phrasing?
100%. I fake it every day. That's kind of like in a way, that's my brand of like being this confident and out there person and working all the time. But I'm just like every other person where I have my down moments and I'm frustrated and I'm burned out, but that doesn't stop me.
How do you deal with burnout whenever you do experience that?
I do experience it quite a lot. I feel like something I've learned is I need to force myself to go outside. I do this thing where all my work is, you know, on technology. Like, I'm not writing on a piece of paper. So I'm either working with cameras, phones, laptops. I'm staring at a screen 24/7. And I will be like the dad from Coraline and sit on my laptop for 25 hours, and there's only 24 hours in a day, so that tells you that I will just sit there in the dark and like work, and I don't go outside. I also live in Boulevard, so I live in the 4-person, so there's no sunlight, so I'm sitting in the dark, like, forgetting what time of day it is. Like, so I think just going outside, clearing your head, going on a walk, listening to music, just things that sound super simple, but that's how it should be, because in this field, nothing is simple. So doing something that's simple, kind of, it's like cleaning off your desk, which I got from a friend of mine who is another person I met out here, Mad Sierra Photography, who she's like my mentor, my big sister. I go for all my advice from her. And she was like, I go on runs because that's my way of clearing my head. And then when I go back home, it's time to work, and I'm ready to sit down. So I feel like it's all rooted in taking care of yourself and, you know, eating 3 meals a day, drinking water, things that are basic human things, but creatives tend to forget because it's like, oh, well, I got to get this done and I have this deadline and, oh, I have to book a shoot. And like, it kind of like gets lost on treating yourself like not a robot. Yeah. So I feel like that has helped contain the burnout because I'm like, okay, by 9 p.m., I'm getting in bed and I'm watching Criminal Minds. And I'm turning my phone on, do not disturb me.
Spencer Reed.
Yes, you know.
Matthew Gray Goobler.
No, literally. So I feel like it's just about having boundaries and taking care of yourself. That has, like, helped my burnout a lot because I don't really get burnout now. I get more so stressed. But then it kind of passes once I'm like, sit down and stop being a baby. Yeah. It's not. You're making it more serious in your head than it really is. Yeah. And I feel like that's another thing because, like, you know, you're kind of your own boss. So, like, you're like, no one's telling me necessarily what to do. It's just in my head. So I have to be the boss of myself and be like, chill. So I hope that's kind of a good answer. Just
no, absolutely. It's a great answer.
Basically taking care of yourself like every other person.
Yeah. Another thing that you had mentioned earlier was that you kind of had this obstacle for a while. And honestly, I'm asking mostly for me, not even for you. Awesome. That you had this like kind of problem with like overscheduling and like saying like yes to all these opportunities, but then being like, oh no, this is too many opportunities. Yeah. How did you kind of like manage to cool yourself down and take that step back?
Yeah. I'm actually like really glad to talk about this because this is something I worked on because last year I did not do it correctly at all. And now this year I'm so much more like, this is what I want. And it's all about like kind of what aligns with you. Like if you're given 2 opportunities, which one do you think is one you're going to have the most fun with and is also going to be the most impactful to your career? Like it's kind of like, yes, it's an opportunity and something could come from it, but something could come from every opportunity. So why would you want to take 3 other opportunities when there might be one really big one where yes, that's only one, but that might be the most impactful. So I think it's all about kind of playing it down and seeing what aligns the most with you. And I mean, maybe you suffer with this, but feeling like you might not do enough. Yeah. If you're sitting right here, you definitely do enough. Promise you that. We wouldn't be doing this podcast if neither of us did enough. You know,
I guess that's true. Yeah.
So it's like, you 100% do enough, and I know what you do because I follow you on LinkedIn and Instagram, and I know you personally, so I know you do a lot.
I've been dropping the ball on LinkedIn, you guys. I need to get back.
But
it's been like 2 weeks.
No, but I mean, you inspire people. I mean, Alex has started posting more on LinkedIn because she watches what you do. You know what I mean? So
that's awesome.
It's things like that where I feel like if you pay attention to the people who are close to you and are inspired by you or support you, obviously you're doing enough to be gaining their attention, especially when you see that they do a lot too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if, like, I don't know, President Obama was like, wow, Nadia, you're doing great. I'd be like, oh, I'm obviously doing enough. If President Obama, I have his attention, you know, just like for a funny example. But I think like for me, I'm like, I'm done. I cannot possibly waste my time on something where, yes, it's an opportunity, but it's not fulfilling what I want to fulfill. Mm-hmm. Like I get a lot of photo jobs, like where people ask me like, hey, can you shoot this? And I'm like I can, but like I could also be, it's not really something I would post on NXJ Studios because I'm more fashion editorial type stuff. So yes, I could take that job because like, you know, it's a job.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, I could take that, but I'd also rather be working on something for my internship where I know I'm fully invested in it. I'm also making money off of that. I'm getting the work done, so I have more off my plate than taking a job where I'm sitting in a studio for 4 hours taking photos and I have to go edit and it's taking more time and I'm not even going to post them.
Yeah.
So, and it sucks because I hate to be that person where I'm like, no, I'm not interested, but it's like, and they're like, you're a photographer, and I'm like, but I'm not that kind of photographer.
Yeah. No, definitely.
I'm not an event photographer.
Yeah, saying no can be hard.
It is.
It can definitely be
especially
hard.
when you know the person, it's even more like, how do I explain this? But and that's another thing I think that I've had a hard time establishing, which I'm now trying to establish, is NXJ Studios is more editorial and fashion, and you know, it's not like event photography or like shooting weddings. Like, please don't DM me to shoot your wedding because I'm not a wedding photographer. Yeah. I have no interest in it.
Yeah, and I mean, if you took, no offense to them, 5 minutes to look at your page.
Yeah, it's like, there's nothing about events. Like, it's all, you know, like album cover-esque and graphic design and posters and, you know, what would be in fashion magazines. That's more so my niche because I want to be a creative director in the fashion world. So that's another thing because I get DMs like that all the time. And I'm like, yes, I am a photographer, but now I'm not doing that. Sorry. I can't. I don't have the time to possibly do that. If I was a freshman and I had no experience, yeah, that's different. Yeah. That's another thing. It's like sometimes you just outgrow the opportunity. Sometimes you're a little overqualified for them. Yeah. So I think that's another thing you should be like.
Yeah, that's something that I definitely, because I remember when I was a freshman, like, I would say yes to anything. Like, I had a profile on this platform.
You're like a baby.
I was like a baby, you know? And I had a profile on this platform called Upwork. That's how I started freelancing, actually. Mm-hmm. And I was doing, like, stuff like, people would send me, like, a 60-page, like, thing, like, analysis or, like, document. And they'd be like, edit this, and I'm going to give you $20.
Yeah, but you're like, I'm a freshman, and I have no other, like...
I have to. Yeah, I'll take 4 hours to edit this document.
And in a way, it teaches you something. You're like, well... Now I'm 21 and a senior, and I ain't doing that again because I'm too overqualified for that. But it is kind of like the dirty work of being a freshman. Like
the little things snowball.
Yeah, like I did a bunch of things, and I'm like, I would probably never do that now because one, I'm overqualified, and two, it's just not in my field anymore. Yeah. Because that's another thing. You're kind of learning what exactly you want to go into. Mm-hmm. Because you could be like, yes, I'm a photographer. What kind of photography do you do? Like, it's things like that where it's so you're building more of your niche interest than whereas a freshman and you're majoring in multimedia and you're like, I don't know.
Yeah, and niching down is really important in your career. That's something that I think translates to like all forms of media, like something that definitely photography and writing have in common. Like if you're a generalist, like if you're like, oh, I'll write anything or I'll shoot anything, you can only really go so far and charge so much.
Exactly. Like that's the thing. I niche down to an extent because I'm still that person where I never just say, oh, I'm just a photographer, I'm a creative director. I'm a social media manager, I'm a creative director, I'm a photographer.
Oh, yeah. Be versatile.
I'm a podcaster. Yeah, so, like, be versatile. But when it comes down to saying yes or no to something, like, no, I'm not going to go on the Joe Rogan podcast. Yes, I'm a podcaster and I'm whatever. But, like, people who support me would be like, girl, why are you on Joe Rogan? Like, it just, it's like sometimes it's like people can tell when you're just saying yes to things to say yes to things. Yeah. And you don't want to be that person because that kind of, like, deflects badly on your personal brand, especially when you're in this field. Like, you do, I hate to say it, I know people feel weird about marketing themselves, but, like, you're a personal brand.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, your work is like you, you know what I mean? So people kind of don't want to follow or support someone where it's like, well, girl, you just be doing anything.
Yeah. And I mean, I think the way to attract like the kind of like viewership or clients that you really want is by making sure that you're tailoring to one specific kind of person. Like, it's not about making things that are going to resonate with everyone. It's about making things that are going to resonate with the right people, the right amount.
Exactly, because the thing is that was another thing I kind of went through in my freshman year is I was so focused on the numbers. Like, I was like, I need to have the numbers. I need this. The numbers don't matter because, first of all, half the people who have a lot of followers, they're either old accounts or bots. So don't want that. And I've learned for me, like, I don't have a big following. So when people hear all the stuff I do and they're like, they see my following, they're a little like, okay, like, it's so low. But the amount of people I know, real people, not people through Instagram, that gets me through the door. Because I know these connections, they're not just connections, they're relationships.
Yeah.
So I'd much rather have an in-person relationship with a bunch of people who can get me through doors than having, like, 500,000 on Instagram.
No, 100. Yeah, you know? I completely agree with that. I said 100% probably 100 times.
That's okay.
This, but I just agree.
But like facts.
Yeah, like I agree with you. Like
yeah.
So I really appreciate everything that you said so far. So I think that to round things kind of out and end things off, what do you think is one or few of the most important pieces of advice that you would give to either yourself as a freshman or just like younger creatives in general who don't know how to put that first foot in the door or find that first opportunity?
Yeah.
What kind of advice would you give them?
I feel like the biggest one, and it's something that I kind of didn't realize, like, was an actual good piece of advice until I was like, oh, wow, that's actually nice. After 3 years of doing this and feeling uncomfortable, is to allow yourself to feel uncomfortable, because that is the only way you learn. Because I've realized I kind of stopped, like, I was in this new internship I started, I was like, I feel so uncomfortable with myself because I'm like, oh, I should know what I'm doing. Even though it's an internship and you're supposed to learn. And I'm like, no, I sure already know everything. So, but now I'm a few weeks into it and I'm like, wait, I'm getting the hang of it. So imagine if I didn't let myself feel uncomfortable and I gave up on this, which has opened so many doors. Sadly, I can't talk about them because I decided NDA, but I swear they're really cool. But like, imagine I didn't do that, then I wouldn't have had how many doors it's probably going to open, and it already has opened.
Yeah.
Whereas I just wrote it out, let myself feel uncomfortable, let myself make a couple mistakes, and I'm fine. So I feel like that's something why a lot of people don't take the jump or continue to take it, is because they're like, well, I'm not good at it, I'm uncomfortable, and I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, you're also like 22 and have no idea what the world, like, you don't know anything.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know enough. And you, obviously, like, if they put you on the team or whatever, they obviously know that you have some type of quality to do the job.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, like, and that's what my supervisor did to me. They were like, we wouldn't have you here if we didn't think you could do it. We're just challenging you, and it's a new opportunity, so you're going to be uncomfortable. So I would say the biggest thing is to allow yourself to be uncomfortable, because it will pay off in the end. Be confident and know how to do your taxes.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most important things, yeah.
Once your taxes is all good, you're chilling, you know.
Yeah.
But taxes, man, if you're doing something like this where it's all, you know, freelancing and you're kind of the boss of you, and, you know, you may work with companies here and there, like, you got to make sure your finances are in order.
Yeah, definitely. Just one really quick piece of advice that I have to give for that is something that helped me. Just open up a completely separate savings account that, like, is not involved with your own money or anything.
Yes.
And just as soon as that check hits, put that amount straight in.
There are so many people here that I've learned who don't have savings account. I've had a savings account since I was 18 years old. I don't play about that, y'all.
Yeah, so my savings account, it goes up and down because...
Oh, me too.
You know,
but I still have one.
My rent's crazy.
Yeah.
But, you know, I save when I can. Yeah. It is kind of wild, though, whenever people...
Like, that's the thing. It's like, it's different if you have one and, you know, you got to do the little transactions. Y'all, I get that. Trust. But there's people I know who don't have one. Everything's just in one account. That would freak me out.
That would freak me out, too. Yeah.
Like, because then I'm like, oh, I have all this money to spend. No, you don't. No, you don't. So, yeah, definitely, like, have a savings account, know how to do your taxes. Be confident. And let yourself be uncomfortable. And just take the risks. Say yes to everything. There's just so many pieces of advice. And I know, like, especially on Point Park campus, they're all kind of repeated. It's like, take the risk and be confident and do what you gotta do. But it's true. Like, these people wouldn't be saying these things to you if it wasn't, like, realistic.
Yeah.
So Yeah.
Very true.
That's NXJ's advice, I guess, for you guys.
Thank you so much.
Also, you could DM me if you ever just want to talk.
Oh, yeah. Plug your stuff really quick.
Nadia Jones is just where I do content creating. That's my Instagram handle for that. And then NXJ Studios is my Instagram handle for my photography. Still trying to get my website out. So
that's a work in
she's not out right
forever.
now, but she will be soon. And yeah, you can honestly just find me anywhere. I mean, everyone tells me every day that they see me on the screens in like because I did the ad. So I'm just like, you could also just see me walking to class.
Yeah, just like yell out her name really loud and scare her if you see her walking down the street. That's a really
just
good
grab
way.
me by my tote bag. Hey, I wanted to talk to you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you guys so much for watching. There's gonna be more coming out, so stay tuned and have a great rest of your day, you guys.
Yes.